All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of The Kingdom of the Kael Isles. Yes, this is my first custom D&D campaign, and congratulations, guys. You got through your first story arc.
Season
It
2.
season two. It only took 2.5 years. Um, so that bodes well for the rest of this. To get the rest of you guys caught up, shit went down last week. Lots of it. And a familiar face showed up. She looked like she was helping, and then she wasn't. And then weird stuff happened, and now you guys are in a brand new place that the only thing you are aware of thus far is it's called the Verdant Empire, or at least that is what your the first person that met you here said, who happened to be an Eladrin. And other than destroying a Roboman, within seconds of meeting him, seems to be a fairly pleasant gentleman that I've completely forgotten the name of. So if any of you guys wrote that down, that would be helpful. Otherwise, I get to make up another new name and retcon things when I actually watch the rebroadcast.
Don't remember a name, so go for it.
Cool. All right. So, last week you guys last episode, you guys finally confronted the Council of One, got into a pretty big fight. A friend of, or a former mentor of Fade, showed up in an attempt to kind of double-cross Fade and help out the Council of One. And the Council of One rewarded him for that by turning him into this crazy beholder nonsense. You guys were able to eventually take down the Council of One. You were starting to take apart the machine that's been keeping him alive for centuries and killing the population. And then Song showed up with a posse. And the posse went over and did something to the machine. And when I think it was Avok went to talk to her, she said, "The name's Lust." And then everything went bonkers. Now you guys are in this very strange place. The colors here don't seem quite right. There are new colors you've never seen before. Everything around you just seems kind of vibrant and full of life and energy. And this Eladrin seems completely enthralled with the fact that you guys are here. So we're actually going to jump right back into just after he's killed whatever metal man thing that was there and has said, "Welcome to the Verdant Empire." What do you guys want to do?
Immediately after grasping all this, Willow reaches out telepathically and tries to see if she can contact Talon.
Okay. Go ahead and make me a spell attack roll.
A spell attack roll?
Yes. It's a way for me to kind of gauge how powerful because this is a spell effect. So.
Okay, I mean, I can tell you that the spell goes any distance, but it does not go between planes. So it's like her trying to figure out.
Oh, I know the spell.
Cool.
This is just going to, again, weird things are happening, and so makes you roll.
That's fine. That is a 26.
26. Okay. So as you sit there trying to enact the spell, not only does the spell not work, but as you try casting it.
Well, I wasn't casting. It was already up.
The spell's been in effect.
Oh, yeah.
Less for an hour.
Okay, so let me rephrase that. As you try enacting it,
Right.
not only does it not work, it almost seems like, as strange as this sounds, it almost seems like it can't work. Like the way it was designed wasn't built correctly to work. Kind of like a program with an error in it. And once you look at the code and you see the error in it, you know that this program will never work as written. You have to change it in order to make it work. Which is really weird because it was working previously.
Mm-hmm.
And now, for whatever reason, you just get this feeling, because you've experimented before, especially with your background. You've experimented before and created your own spells as part of what you did for the Eladrin. So you had spells fizzle and fail and things like that. And that's kind of what this spell seems to be doing right now as you try to contact Talon.
Can I reach out and just to the rest of my party and see if they can still hear me?
With a 26? What do you want to say?
Just, can you guys still hear me?
So as you guys are kind of sitting there getting your surroundings in, you hear this voice louder than anything you've ever heard in your life scream. Can you guys still hear me?
I just kind of look around and just stare at Willow. I hear you. Get us back there, please.
Avok
Does it come back really loud too?
I say this out loud.
Yeah, I was about to say, did
Oh,
you say
okay.
it telepathically? Or because y'all are right next to each other.
Sure.
Yeah, Avok is mentally saying, ow!
So the rest of you guys hear this unearthly, incredibly loud scream in your head that, for saving my voice, I'm not going to imitate.
Sure. Slightly confused and panicked, she just tries to summon a mage hand and see what happens.
Roll me a spell attack roll.
All right. 19.
Okay. As you sit there concentrating and you summon the hand, this is not the mage hand you are used to seeing. This mage hand is 5 feet tall. And actually pushes Avok out of the way.
I drop it immediately.
And it fizzles out of existence.
The fuck?
Something's very wrong here. That was supposed to be a mage hand. You know, the one I make the drinks with.
You
That
hear
should not have
you
looked like
hear
that.
a giggle from behind you.
Is this funny to you?
Yes, actually, it's quite hilarious. It's completely normal. Don't worry about it. It takes a while to get used to how things work in the Feywild.
I charge him and I put my glove with the blades extended.
Hey.
Send me back now.
So as he sits there, and I would like you to go ahead and make me an attack roll. You're not going to actually attack him, but he's
No,
going
I'm
to
just trying to
Yep.
grab him.
But he's going to try and deflect what you're doing.
26 to hit or to
So
grab.
as you come forward, that rapier that he was using before reacts with blinding speed, and as the claw comes out, he kind of twists the rapier up and twists it, and very smoothly just kind of moves around you and ends up using your momentum to throw you about 5 feet behind him. As he levels his blade at you, he goes, "Okay, calm down. I'm not here to hurt you.
Okay, Avok, like, has his axe towards the back of his head.
We're
Dude,
in the
don't
Feywild?
forget me. I'm
Ava,
sorry. Okay, first off, what the fuck? What the fuck?
how
I
did we get there?
understand you're all probably really confused, but this is not the place to have this conversation. The Scorched Empire is literally about 200 feet over there, and their scout just died. So it's going to take them a couple minutes to realize this, but once they do, they're going to know we're here, and we need to not be here when they realize that.
Take me somewhere where we can get back. No. We need to get back now.
Let's get somewhere safe first, then we can talk about what's going on, okay?
Fine.
All right. Follow me. And he runs off through this heavily wooded area.
Wait up, shithead.
No, follow.
Okay.
I'm slow right now.
The rest of you guys, I'm assuming, follow?
I do not. I stand there and I look around and I look up. What do I see in the sky?
The sky is this strange, kind of twilight sunset color, with more colors than you're used to seeing in a sunset. And a couple colors that you can't name. You've never seen them before. And you don't actually see the sun anywhere.
If Fade hasn't moved, I wait. Fade,
Okay.
No.
Fade, I know. None of this was supposed to go like this, but we have to get somewhere safe. If we have any chance of getting back and fixing what happened, we have to be safe ourselves.
As you say that, you hear an explosion in the distance.
Is it similar to that first one when the fire guy came?
Slightly different. You would both recognize it as the sound of a fireball going off.
God damn it. Guys, move your asses!
I point to Willow and say go, and
I'm not going without you.
I start moving in that direction.
Okay.
I make sure that she's in front of me because she cannot see me crying, and we go.
Okay. So you guys travel with this new Eladrin kind of pushing you on and trying to convince you to go faster than you're used to. And you travel for about 3 hours. And he randomly makes these turns, and you guys go, you climb up trees, and you travel across treetops for a little bit, from branch to branch, and then you go back down to the foliage again, and you go through clearings and streams and rivers, and the terrain changes almost randomly. Far more diversity in terrain than you guys are used to seeing, even in the wilderness around the Kael Isles, the really undeveloped wild places. You normally don't see this much variety. And so finally, after a few hours of pushing yourselves pretty hard, all of you guys are breathing pretty heavily. And even your new guide is a little bit winded. And you see him flip his rapier over, concentrate for a second, and then go, okay, we should be good for now. Boy, you guys chose a lousy place to cross.
It wasn't a choice.
Okay, guys. I'm a little more exhausted than usual. That fight took a lot out of me.
Well, we can make camp for a little bit here. We probably won't be able to stay for more than an hour or two. But we're far enough away from the scorched front that we should be okay. And we do have a regiment of dragoons coming in that should preoccupy the Scorched Empire. Wow. This is just... Wow. Do you guys know what you've done?
How can we undo it? We cannot be here right now.
This is not funny.
I'm not laughing at your situation. I'm laughing at the fact that you think I can fix this.
Well, then find someone who can. We shouldn't be here.
Yeah, that's kind of the point. Humans haven't been seen in the Verdant Empire in 600 years.
Bloody freaking Tom. We all know the histories. We just killed the guy who was the reason for that.
Well, we don't actually know why, so it might be nice to fill us in. All we know is 600 years ago, the prime material plane was cut off, along with everything else.
There was an asshole who wanted to live forever.
Well, that's important information. But we haven't been able to do anything about it. We have archmages that have spent 200-300 years trying to figure out why we can't contact any planes other than the elemental ones. And they've come up blank. So, yeah,
If you care to point us in that direction, I can fill them in.
Yeah, they're in the capital. Alanduil is quite a ways away. Like, we're talking a few weeks' travel here. And I don't have that many rations. We're going to have to make a pit stop before we can get there. And they're going to... they're going to have a lot more questions for you than you're going to have for them. I'll guarantee that. At this point, he starts to notice Fade is acting very strangely and things are starting to happen. And he comes over and he very gingerly places a hand on your shoulder and goes, Are you going to be okay?
At this point, Fade has to cast thaumaturgy verbally. That's normally how it goes, but that's not happening right now. Mm-hmm. He's just shaking, and for an Eladrin of his skin tone, which is kind of like a pale blue, he's like turning dark blue. Like he is not in control of anything right now, and his spell effects from thaumaturgy are just going off. He's not actively thinking about doing it.
So he kind of turns to the rest of you guys. Is this a normal thing?
Willow pushes on the side and stands in front of Fade and just looks up. Fade? Fade, can you look at me? Look at me.
What?
She puts her hand on his arm.
What?
I need you present for this. We need you.
He saved us, and I left him there.
You didn't leave him. We were sent away. He knows that. We'll find a way back, I promise you.
You can't make that promise.
I'm going to anyway.
And the tremors in the wind and his flickering eye colors just kind of slowly come back into sync, and he's just standing there, but he is not engaging in visual contact or words. He's just there, but not there.
So that was fun. I'm gonna get firewood.
Fine.
Yeah. And he walks off.
Oh my god. Okay.
Kata, how are you? You've been so quiet.
Is she frozen?
Oh no.
Oh no.
I'm gonna real quick reconnect, see if I can get her. Can you hear us, Katie?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Oh no.
Okay. Everyone just reconnect real quick. You were frozen for a second there?
Oh no. Unless... Okay, I have mine. Sorry.
What's going on?
Alright. Katie, can you who can you see?
Yeah. Yeah, I can see most of you guys.
Just missing Victoria?
No, just missing David.
Technical difficulties are awesome, guys.
Oh,
Alright, hold on for a second. Why do you keep going? I don't know. My bandwidth keeps resetting itself, and it's annoying the hell out of me. Okay, could everyone hear each other?
Yes.
Hi.
I think I'm good.
All right, good. So that's where it's going to stay now, and don't change things, Roll20. All right, so Willow has just asked Kata how she's doing. Continue. And the strange Eladrid man has just wandered off to get firewood.
Right.
Okay.
Good time to ourselves.
Okay. I am okay. Mostly. Same feeling that reminds me of when I lose Mama. Had me worried.
Willow takes her hand and just gives it a squeeze.
Oh, thank you.
If I can, we're not going to lose each other ever again.
Oh.
So as you guys are doing that, the Eladrin comes back, drops some firewood on the floor, and he points his hand at the firewood, and a bolt of fire springs forth, ignites it.
Point of order, have I heard of the Feywild?
Roll me an Arcana check.
Same question. I don't know if that was kept out of our histories.
Yeah,
Right, that's
Arcana check, everybody. That
I
wants to.
don't know anything, so I'm not going to bother.
Mm-hmm.
This probably wouldn't have
Yeah,
anything to
Kata
do with
just
my...
wouldn't know about it. You would have been far too young.
Yeah.
21.
Okay.
Oh, nice read.
23 with the crit.
Okay, so both of you guys had some education beyond the standard Eladrin curriculum, and I mean the very basics of how the world was formed and religion and everything like that mentions that the gods live in another plane of existence, and they interact with people here by giving them access to spells and things like that. So you guys are aware of the idea of other planes of existence. As far as specifically the name the Feywild doesn't ring a bell.
Okay.
But you're aware of multiple planes of existence.
Sure.
You just never heard of anyone traveling to another one.
Right.
Fade, I'm going to say that was transported with you when you went.
Okay.
So everything's good. So he pulls up a log that was kind of lying down, sits and closer to the fire so he can kind of sit there. Goes into a relatively small pack on his belt and starts pulling out very. He pulls out a package wrapped in, I guess, butcher paper would kind of be the closest thing you could see to it. And he unwraps it, and there is meat there that you're not immediately familiar with. But he goes and he picks up some sticks and things and makes a makeshift kind of spit. And starts roasting this meat that is larger than the pouch he pulled it out of. He just kind of looks at you guys, and he has this kind of shit-eating grin every time he looks at you guys. And when he realizes that he does, you could see him go, sorry. And he just goes back to what he's doing.
Willow sits down next to him. I'm sorry, we've had a really shitty day.
I kind of figured.
We kind of don't know if our entire home is still there or not, so not sure it's going to get any better.
Wish I could help you with that. But when we get to Alandwell, I mean, everything changes. They have real wizards there, not, you know, an amateur blade dancer. I mean, they have. I mean, the city itself is amazing, and the Undying Empress is there, and her consort is incredibly wise, and the Arcane Court. I mean, they're the smartest people in the Verdant Empire. If they can't figure this out, then no one can.
So you just said the Undying Empress and her court. Cool. Good to see another one. Great.
That's just her name. I mean, that's just what she's. That's what she's called.
Just out of curiosity, what is the average lifespan for your people here?
Well, with the war for the past millennia, most Eladrin tend to die pretty young, only about 200 or 300 years. But
still better than where we're from. So, also, war for the last millennia.
yeah, the Elemental Wars. You there's a lot you guys don't know. It's hard to explain, and there's a lot to it. I guess let's start here. My name is Aramis.
I'm Willow.
It's nice to meet you.
Kata.
Kata. And I'm sorry, not the. Let me rephrase it. It's not the Undying Empress. She's called the Eternal Empress. And her actual name is Empress Esmiel Thwenir. And she's been ruling the Verdant Empire for, I think this year she reaches 1637 years on the throne.
Okay, she sounds really old.
She doesn't look it. I mean, not that anyone as lowborn as me would ever. And I mean, again, Prince Stallion, they're very much in love, and you know that would never happen. But I mean, anyway, enough about that.
I'm assuming she's also an Eladrin.
Yes, the Verdant Empire is primarily Eladrin, though we accept refugees from the Scorched Dominion and the Temperate Sovereignty and the Terrestrial Commonwealth and the Aqueous Realm. So we have.
Speaking a lot of words right now.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There's a war going on. Technically, there's 4 wars, and depending on how specifically you want to cut them up, you could call them just one big war, or like somewhere between 4 and 8 smaller wars, or there's a lot of fighting.
Okay.
And we're kind of at the center of it because, well, the rest of the elemental planes don't realize that they can't actually get to the prime material plane through the Verdant Empire like they used to be able to. They think that we're just keeping them out.
And you're not telling them.
Well, we think that would cause more issues than it would solve. There's also the issue that there's not a whole lot of talking going on. The last, well, let's see, 7 envoys we've sent to the various elemental planes, they haven't come back. Well, I guess I should rephrase that. All of them haven't come back. Pieces of them have come back.
Oh,
Which, luckily enough, was enough for some of our more talented clerics to bring some of them back. But yeah, they got out of diplomacy at that point. I think the last envoy that came back and was resurrected, one of them turned into a farmer. Another one is a school teacher for young children. And the third one operates a refugee home for refugees from the war. Orphans, other people fleeing from war-torn areas, things like that. But none of them will go anywhere near any of the fronts or the planar barriers. They just, yeah.
Sure. If travel has only been blocked for 600 years, then why has this war been going on for a millennia?
Well, it didn't start because of the inability to travel between realms. To be perfectly honest, I don't know what the root cause of the war is. I'm a scout. I go where I'm told. I watch the various fronts. I report back. That's it. Every so often I get into combat. But I'm not really the guy to be, telling you guys all this.
Well, you're all we have at the moment.
Well, you make a valid point. So about 1,000 some odd years ago, roughly, I guess we should go further back. For a few millennia, the Verdant Empire was the key to the prime material plane and the rest of the planes of existence. The portal that connects the Feywild to the prime material plane is in the heart of Alandwil, and for millennia, the Eladrin have kind of been the keepers of it. On this side, on the prime material side, the orcs were kind of the guardians of it, and they tended to it, and they were our allies for years and years and years, hundreds of years. So, about 1,000 years ago, and the other elemental planes are fine as well. We were all allies. Every so often there'd be arguments and things like that, but, nothing really big. About 1,000 years ago, something happened. The Scorched Dominion launched an attack. They tried to take Alandwil. The Eladrin fought back, and as soon as they were able to get the Scorched Dominion back to the elemental barrier, the Terrestrial Commonwealth started attacking as well. And then the Temper Sovereignty came in, and the Aqueous Realm started, and it just turned into this 5-way war. None of the elemental princes are speaking with each other. They're all battling each other, and we're at the middle. And it's been that way for, like I said, over 1,000 years.
Wow.
While this is happening, you guys see Fade, or you guys notice that Fade has been very, very quiet, and he's actually gone down to his knees, and he's taken his holy symbol out. And you see him concentrating and speaking very softly. Fade, as you focus on the divine intervention ability, go ahead and roll. Oh, you got a 21?
Yep, not good.
So as you're sitting there and you're trying your best, for the first time since starting down the path to being a cleric, you feel completely cut off from your deity. You can still feel your magical abilities, and you don't think that's been affected at all. But as far as communication, or even just that kind of presence you used to feel when you were doing what it was that they wanted you to do, there's nothing. It's a brick wall.
Okay. Everything's gone now. Fade says out loud.
Okay. Aramis seems puzzled. He turns to Willow and he tries to keep his voice. Has he always been like this?
Like I said, we had a really shitty day.
I don't need to worry or anything, do I? I mean, I've got wards and things if we need them. To keep people from dying.
To be perfectly honest, I don't know.
I am going to just create a perimeter real quick. You guys have fun. And he walks away out into the forest.
I look at Avok. Who is this guy? Like, do we want to even trust him? I don't know.
Well, hang on one second. I just want to roll an insight just to get
Sure.
a box frame of mind. Yeah, I forgot that noise. I honestly don't know, but saved our asses back there, and I mean he's giving us all this info that I guess is useful. Fuck, I mean Willow probably understands this shit more than I do, so
As you're saying that, you see him walking back in, and he's holding a stone, and he seems to be talking to the rock. He's like, "Yeah, humans. I know. No, that's fantastic. No, I think they could use the rest. I'll let's see, where are we? I'll meet up with you guys in Shorestock. All right? Yeah, we could definitely use an escort. That. Okay. Perfect. All right, be safe." You see him put it away. So, good news. We're not going to be bothered by the Scorched Dominion for a little while. The Dragoons got there. They've intercepted them. They've pushed them back to the flame barrier. We're safe. We can rest for the night. You guys definitely look like you could use it. And then there's a town. It's about a day's journey from here. It's in the direction of Landwill. It's called Shorestock. We can stock up on supplies there. We'll meet up with a portion of the frontline army that's set to rotate back out and get new troops, and we can just follow them into a Landwill. And it's much safer than trying to get there on our own. Trust me on this one. I mean, even without the Scorched Dominion, there are displacer beasts and the occasional hag every so often, and it's much safer to travel in groups.
Okay.
And the Eternal Empress is incredibly wise, and she has resources at her disposal that means that she can answer so many more questions than I can, and she will want to talk to you. I can guarantee that. But you guys are among friends. I promise.
can I roll an insight check on that?
Sure.
Me too.
That's not bad.
Yeah, that's probably a fail. 13.
Okay, Avok?
19.
You both don't really know him that well. Kata, you're still having a hard time learning how to read people. So you're not 100% sure. Avok, he seems genuine. There's no obvious tells that you're seeing that he has any ulterior motive. But again, you don't really know the guy. And he doesn't act like any Eladrin you've ever met. Like, every Eladrin you've ever spoken to has talked down their nose to you. Even Fade, for a long portion of this, had, just from growing up among the Eladrin, had that kind of air about him. And he eventually lost it with you guys as he became more comfortable. This guy doesn't. He seems very laid back. he hasn't insulted you or called you names or anything like that in the entire time you've known him. Yeah, he's very, very different, and because of that, he's very hard to read. So, we've got some time. Maybe you guys would like to tell me what it is you have been going through.
Do you want the short version or the long version?
Well, if we leave bright and early tomorrow morning, we will probably beat the army by half a day at least. So we've got time.
Okay, well... You guys want to tell him because I'm still white. What are you guys tell the story?
Okay, let's start with something easy. Where are you from?
The Kael Isles.
Yep.
My gosh. Okay. What's it like? We haven't had contact in 600 years. You know, give it take a few decades. What's going on?
In that 600 years, we started with a council of Eladrin rulers, and the leader of them slowly, over time, decided that he wanted more power and longer life, and declared himself the Council of One, and built a machine to slowly suck the life energy from the rest of his subjects, and has slowly been killing all non-Eladrin in the entire nation. So, pretty fucking bad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some schmuck named Christopher.
Damn. Well, when we do make contact again, I can guarantee he'll be brought to justice. I mean, there are so many interplanar laws that he's broken there.
Don't worry.
We already killed him.
That works too.
The machine is still there.
Machine.
Yeah.
The one that was draining everybody's life.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have anyone to filter the life into anymore, right?
We don't know.
Funny thing, we don't know what happened. The last thing I remember is an old friend of ours decided to get freaky.
Good
Which is-
descriptor.
Well, to be fair, that's not out of her norm, but this was more than usual with her. But we haven't seen her for quite a long time.
You may want to avoid going into storytelling or writing or any field like that.
Yeah, I get... Dude, come on. I accept... Have you seen me?
Anyway,
There was a tiefling.
tiefling in the prime material plane? That shouldn't be possible.
She just ripped her way in, and they did something to the machine.
That's interesting.
Who was she? She seemed to know you.
Oh, that's well, we knew her as Song. We found her in a cage. She was something. And then she got, this portal, I guess, opened up and these things snatched her. It
Wait.
was,
What was she doing in a cage? Was she a criminal?
no. Where we found her, she was more, Faye, what's that EX word?
She was being experimented on, but
That's it. That's it.
we can't believe that. I mean, look what she did. It could have been a fucking setup.
Well,
Oh, she goes by Lust now. That's cool.
What the?
she's one of the 7 deadly sins.
Sure.
Wow, you do keep very
Is that
interesting
something-
company.
We should know.
It's interplanar diplomacy. So, how do I boil this down? So there's basically 3 kind of groupings of the planes of existence with some weird stuff on the outside. You've got the prime material plane, which is where humans originated along with quite a few other races. Orcs, dwarves. Anyway, that's kind of the linking point between all the planes of existence. We are on what are called the higher planes. Also, the elemental planes. They consist of the Feywild, which we call the Verdant Empire, because it's ruled over by an emperor or empress. The current empress is Esmiel Thwenir, and like I said, she's been ruling for a little over 1,600 years. And she's a just and fair ruler. Then there's the other elemental planes, the elemental plane of Earth, which is called the Terrestrial Commonwealth. The capital city is Terra Firma. It's ruled by Kaiser Dagon Fortsight. He's a Goliath, and that's where the Goliaths come from. That's their native realm.
Have we ever seen Goliaths? Or
You've
what?
never heard the term before.
Okay. What the hell's a Goliath?
They're very big. They're kind of like humans, but they're very, very, very big. They tend to be 8 to 9 feet tall. They're pretty strong. They can take a punch.
Really? Ooh.
Yeah, you'd probably get along with them great. To the north is the Scorched Dominion. That's the elemental plane of fire. The temple, or the capital city, is Phlogiston, and it's ruled by Overlord Incade Truefire. He's what's called a Warforged. They're a race of metallic beings that, at their core, is a flame. They're basically fire incarnated into a mortal form, and their metal skin and bodies contains their elemental essence.
Is that what that thing was back there?
Yes, that was a Warforged. They're
Shit.
rough. It's one of the reasons why the battle has been so difficult. To the west, you have the Tempest Sovereignty, which is the elemental plane of air. The capital city is Imperius. And the ruler is Sovereign Alsatia Whisperbreeze. She's an Aarakocra. They're
What?
bird people.
Ooh.
basically. Half bird, half humanoid. They're great at parties, or they used to be. And then to the
Sounds like
south,
they blow.
kind of. I dated one once. Let's just say. Anyway, to the south is the Aqueous Realm. The capital is Pelagia, and it's ruled by King Gael Oceanus. He's a changeling, and that's where changelings come from.
A changeling?
Uh, each of the elemental races are basically embodiments of their elements. The Goliaths are strong and tough, like rock. They're kind of rock incarnate. The Urakakra are flowing and swift and fly like the winds, so they're wind incarnate. The changelings are the embodiment of water. They're humanoids, but they can change their appearance at will. They've
Wow.
been the most difficult for us to deal with because technically anyone could be a changeling. There was a time where people were imprisoned for suspicions that they were changelings. Luckily, that dark period of our history is past, but there's still some who harbor a little bit of resentment against them. Anyway, so we're on the higher planes. In order to get to the prime material plane, there is a portal in Alandwil, and that leads to the prime material plane. And there's another portal on the prime material plane that used to be located in a temple right there that connected with what's called the lower planes. You have the Shadowfell, which is where the Drow are from. They're dark elves. They have, because they were born on the Shadowfell. The Shadowfell is kind of the opposite of the Feywild. Well, here everything is magical and bright, and life just kind of explodes here. The Shadowfell is darkness and shadow and despair. That's the world that they live in.
Lovely.
Anyway, on the lower planes, to the north of them is Elysium and the Seven Heavens, and to the south is the Seven Hells and Tartarus. And the Seven Heavens are some of the gods live there, some of the gods live in the Seven Hells, but they live in kind of a separate plane within those planes. And the tieflings are from Tartarus. They're from the Seven Hells. They are the people that kind of populate there. And then from the Seven Heavens and that you have the Azmar. So the fact that a tiefling was on the prime material plane when interplanar travel's been broken for 600 years, that's interesting.
So, what are the seven deadly sins then?
Oh, seven deadly sins. They're because of devils and demons and things like that, their political structure is strange. They have depending on the time of day and who you ask, there are a lot of different people that rule the seven hells and Tartarus. But there's always been a group, they call themselves the Seven Deadly Sins, of tieflings that work for whomever the ruler of Tartarus is. And yeah, they are very powerful. They enact whomever's will it is that happens to be ruling that particular day. But again, it's complicated, and I mean, it's been a long time since we've had to deal with them. I didn't even know the Seven Deadly Sins were even a thing anymore. I mean, I learned about this when I was a kid. I'm surprised you guys weren't told any of this. I mean, this is common knowledge.
History is written by the victor.
Well, Victor needs to brush up on his history then, because...
Christopher, but yes.
Anyway.
The rulers of the Nine Hells have control of the machine, don't they?
Your guess is as good as mine. Again, we've had archmages trying to reactivate the connection to the prime material plane for hundreds of years, and we've got nothing. Now, tiefling technology is, let's call it interesting. They don't quite have the respect for life that a lot of Eladrin do, and they don't have a problem using people to power their machines.
Oh my god.
That makes a lot of sense.
They, it's one of the reasons why the Verdant Empire broke off relations millennia ago with Tartarus. Was we discovered they had been experimenting on Eladrin and even more things. I think they started using some Celestials. I heard they even got a dragon once, and they would tap them like you would a keg of ale and drain them of their magical power in order to power their various things.
Oh god.
Okay, that's starting to make sense now.
It's very familiar.
That's been outlawed in the Verdant Empire, and the elemental kingdoms as well. Very much against things like that. So you don't have to worry about anything like that happening here. That's why diplomatic relations were suspended. We didn't, completely ignore them or anything. We just weren't trading with them or anything like that. But again, that was millennia ago. Since the elemental wars started, we've had our hands full, to say the least. Anyway, I've been talking my head off. Who are you guys? I mean, I'm really interested in hearing what it's like to live on the prime material plane and your lives and what's been going on for the past 6 centuries.
We don't know much about the past 6 centuries. Apparently, we didn't know much about anything.
What
as
about...
far as
Go ahead.
As far as I was ever taught, we didn't know that there was more than 100 years in any of us, other than the Council of One, and until recently I didn't even know it was one of us. I thought it was a council or something. But it's been one guy this whole time. Yay, we killed him. We sent him on, but after what you're telling me, I don't know. We don't know anything. We're like infants in this world, which is much bigger than we ever thought.
Well, start with, I mean, where were you born? Who were your parents? What did you do? I mean, obviously you guys didn't decide to kill, get born and then kill the ruler of a kingdom.
No.
Day 2.
Fade gets up and walks away for a minute.
Great talking to you. Let's
Fade
start
goes-
with you, and he turns to Willow. You seem to be in control of most of your faculties.
His dad died today.
Wow.
Well, technically we killed him.
We have these things, we call them therapists. I'm not saying, but I mean, maybe talking to someone who knows more than how to stick pointy things into metal people would be a benefit to you.
Probably, yes.
Anyway, let's forget that for right now. Your name is Willow. You're a gnome, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Where did you come from? What was your life before all of this?
I was born in the slums of the Platinum City.
Sounds nice.
No, it wasn't. It was not a nice place. I watched my father beaten at the hands of Eladrin more times than I could count. And then I watched him be trampled and burned to death when I was 15. So, no, not a nice place.
You just watch as Aramis gets more and more uncomfortable.
Yeah. Not happy memories.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's
Sorry.
illegal here. Like that wouldn't happen.
Riots don't happen here.
Not in a really long time. I mean, there's been demonstrations, but as far as full-blown riots, the Eladrin people love the Empress. She's the Eternal Empress not because she forces it. Like, the entire Verdant Empire loves her. We consider her one of our greatest rulers. She wouldn't stand for treating that. She's given speeches about diversity and why we're welcoming in Goliaths and Warforged that are fleeing their countries. These are enemies of the state, and we're welcoming them into our towns because they're fleeing death and destruction. And diversity and change is always a good thing. And yeah, I mean, the Eladrin that you describe are horrible. Wow.
As of today, you are the second Eladrin who has ever been kind to me. He is the first.
So you, and he turns to Kata. You seem young
Mm-hmm.
and spry, and we're a rock.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming you are naturally inclined.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have many druids. They tend to be more connected to the prime material plane, with arcane magic being so strong here. It's been a few decades since I've seen one, and never one so young. Um, most of the druids I've met spend decades learning their craft. So that's impressive. How did you druify yourself?
Mm-hmm. Memories are fuzzy, but as far as I know, I grew up around noble family when young, but then one day I someone moved me to jungle, uh, where I grew up there until I met these guys.
You grew up in the jungle.
Mm-hmm.
What about your parents?
Human or animal?
He turns to Avok. So, you're human, and you have lots of muscle, and a really big axe. I'm assuming some sort of martial expert.
It's obvious.
You have a mark. I saw it as we were going. Avok, remind me what the mark is again,
Um,
because I can't remember.
it's
It's an animal, right? Was it a
A
ram?
ball.
bull. Yeah.
Bull. There we go. You have the mark of the bull. Are you a member of the Order of the Bull? Did you do something mighty to earn that? I mean, there's got to be a pretty epic tale. I mean, it takes a lot to get inducted into the Order of the Bull.
Okay. First off, that's not what it was called. It was called the Bullhorns. It was a company of half-orcs and humans, all of us just cannon fodder soldiers.
Really? Wow. That sucks.
Yeah.
No, sorry. No, it's that brand, like that specific brand that you have on you. That's it's indicative that you belong to an order of warriors. They call themselves the Order of the Bull. They're how do I explain this? They're the first people into danger and the last ones to leave. They physically charge into the places where everyone else is running away from. And you get that brand to cover up a scar you got from saving someone else's life. Like that brand here means you will never buy another drink for the rest of your life. Like they're highly, highly respected. Even the elemental kingdoms have respect for the Order of the Bull. It's really sad to hear that somebody's taken that symbol and perverted it the way you describe.
Huh.
Sounds like a clever way of getting rid of your biggest enemies.
And you see him starting to get more agitated, and he starts to get up and pace. This doesn't make sense.
And what doesn't make sense to you?
The world you guys are describing, that's not what the Kael Isles is supposed to be. That's not what the prime material plane is supposed to be.
The elemental planes aren't supposed to be at war.
Yeah, but that's war. It happens. It's miscommunication, and people stop listening. You know, but,
For millennia?
well, when you live as long as we do, it's pretty easy to hold a grudge for a long time.
I'm sorry, for us it's generations.
Well, for us, it's been a generation. I'm one of the younger ones. I'm only about 123. I'll be 124 in about a month. I'm still learning the Blade Song. I tried to become a Blade singer and protect the Empress. You know how when somebody tells you to do something and they just have that kind of tone, like they're better than you? I don't do well with that. I mean, I never, did anything really bad. But, I mean, my first commanding officer, I mean, nobody said it to his face, but he was called the Stash because of his, and, well, he was being a dick, and I decided half a stash looked better. He completely overreacted. I mean, I thought it was hilarious. And so did most of the troops. And, a couple of his commanding officers I saw, stifling chuckles. Yeah, that was a month of cleaning things with very, very small brushes. And yeah, the list goes on from there. Strange thing was, he tried to grow it back for like a year. Not really willing to just start all over. So, yeah, we called him Half Stash until I was gone.
At this point, I think Fade starts to put his armor back together, and prominent on his chest piece is the holy symbol of the Dark Lady. He does it very prominently to see if there's a reaction from this guy.
He kind of looks at you. He's like, "That's interesting."
Do you know what this is?
Yeah. We generally call it a breastplate and tabard. Of course, with how crazy the world you guys come from, you might call it a falafel. I don't know.
We don't, by the way, just to put it out there for you.
See, now we're getting better. We have things in common.
Fade,
And
did you
he
mean
looks at
symbol of Dark Lady?
I kind of got that. Yeah, I'm familiar with the Dark Lady. And you see him make a sign that you don't immediately recognize. There's kind of two camps that worship the Dark Lady. There are those that believe that death is the natural end of life, and while it should be respected, shouldn't be feared, and should be welcome as you transition from one life to the afterlife. And then there's the ones that think that death is really, really cool and thinks that more of it should be happening. Which of those camps do you belong to?
I've dabbled in both.
But now you're leaning more towards... I'm just wondering how far away my sleeping bag needs to be from yours.
I think just to make a point, I'm going to lean over to the nearest one of my party members and cast Cure Wounds.
I hope this goes well.
Because we were pretty low, and I have a couple slots left, so I'm going to...
Okay.
Whoever's nearby.
Roll me a spell attack roll.
Mm-hmm. Shouldn't be this hard to press a number. 15.
Okay. Roll the healing for the spell.
Sure. 12 normally.
Okay. Willow, you are at maximum hit points and have 12 temporary hit points.
Oh, wow.
Fade, you feel this blast of energy come out of you, and you're actually thrown back a little bit by it.
Yeah, I am.
And he goes, yeah, you may want to be careful with the whole magic thing. The weave here is different.
Yeah, I got
It doesn't take long to kind of get used to the differences, but until you do, weird things can happen.
Any idea on how long?
The more you practice, the faster it goes. But I recommend practicing on inanimate objects that you don't care if they get turned into desecrated husks.
Mm-hmm.
Arcane magic is the one that's the most affected, but with how far away we are from Elysium and Tartarus, the energy kind of flowing into clerics and paladins and things like that, it tends to kind of get supercharged and weird things happen. So just be careful. Your next healing spell might kill someone. Until you get used to it, and then you'll be fine. And yeah, it's kind of how the Feywild works.
Willow immediately, as far away as she can, starts trying to cast Mage Hand again, and is going to keep practicing it as far away as possible.
So you spend the next couple of hours doing that. And you get everything from the Mage Hand appearing and just being a giant middle finger to a really tiny Mage Hand to a flaming Mage Hand to an elbow and a nose. And eventually you start... Every time you do it, you start kind of seeing the weave. With you being a wizard, you are very academic. and you studied the weave as part of becoming a wizard. And so each time you did it, you're a scientist performing experiments. Each time you do it, it tells you more and more about basically just the different parameters.
Sure.
And so it takes you a couple of hours, but you get to the point where you kind of understand, for the most part, the differences in how you have to interact with the weave to get the same spell effects.
Okay.
You're not 100% on it. There's still a chance that something weird might happen with other spells.
Sure.
But you're fairly confident you understand. And if the rest of you magic users want to do that and just kind of experiment, you can.
Yeah.
Boy, yeah. I want to put my, let's see what the highest level spell I have left is. I want to put a 4th level inflict wounds into my glove. See if it activates.
You notice when you cast a spell into your glove, it works the exact way it's supposed to.
Okay.
For whatever reason, your weapon, your gauntlet, does not seem affected by the Feywild in the same way that everything else is.
Whew.
Now, when you activate the spell from your glove, that may change things. But casting into it works exactly the way it's supposed to.
I want to ask him if you said the capital of your empire is Alandwil.
Yes.
What is there a house of worship for the Dark Lady there?
There's a temple to everybody. The temple to the Dark Lady, it's not... Most people that visit there either have someone on death's door that they're trying to prolong their life, or have someone that has recently died that they are asking the Dark Lady to, take care of them.
Sure.
So those are really the only people that tend to, it's a functional place. Unlike the other temples where there's a lot more that happens there. There aren't many sermons that get spoken in the Temple of the Dark Lady. Let's put it that way.
For now.
I mean, the gods have been silent since, the Chosen Wars. So it's not like any of the other temples are having vast revelations or anything like that.
When were the Chosen Wars?
Oh, wow. And I may be contradicting something I said in a previous episode. Forgive me. I want to say about 6,000 or 7,000 years ago. We don't know everything. Because, again, it had happened across the plains. And the prime material plane was the big place that it happened in, but everywhere was affected by it, and the gods started creating Chosen, and some of them liked it and some of them didn't, and they got into an argument, and it turned into a war. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the Kael Isles became so important. A bunch of Chosen got together and made it so all interplanar travel had to go through the Kael Isles to stop the war. But again, I mean, that's 6,000 years ago.
Well,
a lot has changed since then, and the Chosen don't exist anymore. Like, they died off, and we don't have to worry about that anymore.
Wait.
And he's going to roll an insight check. Oh, it's a 7. I thought it was a 2. Even a 7 is probably not going to do it. He doesn't know you guys.
Yeah.
He seems oblivious.
Cool.
I ask him how long it's going to take to get there, to the heart of his empire.
To Alanduel? A couple of weeks. But we have to get to Shore Spire. Is that what I called it?
Just stop.
Shore stock. Yeah, shore stock.
Shorestock, thank you. We have to get to Shorestock first.
Okay.
Here, let me, and he waves his hand, and you guys see an image up here that looks remarkably similar to the image that you see there. And he goes, we are right about there. We're in the north of the Verdant Empire. You guys came pretty darn close to the flame barrier, the barrier between the fire elemental plane and the Feywild.
Oh.
So yeah, it's going to take us a couple of weeks to get to Alanduel. And we have some teleportation and things like that can speed up the trip, but teleporting over really long distances can create its own issues and tends to be very resource intense. So if we can, we tend to try to move more traditionally. I mean, we've lived in the Feywild our entire lives, and we still know that magic sometimes does weird things.
Is there any wildlife around us at all?
You can hear wildlife around you. If you want to make a perception check, you can look for specific creatures.
18. I guess I'm really just looking for something small that has minimal recognition or intelligence.
You see what looks like it looks like a dragonfly, but an actual dragon and fly put together.
I point to it and ask him, is that a magical creature?
Kind of. It's a dragonfly. Do you guys not have dragonflies?
Not like that.
It's a little creature. Pollinates flowers. They don't make good pets.
I try to banish it.
What's the save for that?
I believe it's charisma. I'm looking it up right now. But I want to send him back to the Platinum City.
He does not have a great charisma score, so a 7 doesn't do it. Roll me a spell attack roll.
21.
Okay. So as you sit there and you try to shift him back to the prime material plane, again, it's like you're trying to do something that can't happen, that can't exist. You can kind of feel the other elemental planes. You can't sense the Shadowfell or Elysium or Tartarus. But you could banish it to the fire elemental plane, the earth. The air,
Oh, you know what? I can't choose where it goes with that. I'm thinking of the wrong spell. But yeah, I still try.
I thought you could.
No, banish, he goes to demi-plane.
Oh.
Plane shift sends him where I want him.
Oh, I was thinking of plane shift as well. So yeah, he does get banished. Because you can create demi-planes.
I let him come back in like 10 seconds, and then I just...
So when you do that at first, he kind of looks at you, and he's like, Did you just kill a dragonfly?
No. And
And
I
it comes back.
snap him back, yeah.
Sorry, you're just, the whole Dark Lady thing, and you're kind of broody, and...
Like they said, it's been a long day. I'm just trying to figure out what we can do here. That's all.
All
I'm
right.
not gonna hurt anyone unless they try to hurt my friends. And I look him dead in the eyes when I say that.
Hey, you're the one that attacked me, and I didn't attack back.
That's right, you didn't.
What time of day is it?
You can't tell.
Oh, fuck, right.
Farewell.
Everlasting twilight.
Darn it.
As you look up, you think it's probably 9 or 10 o'clock at night in the summertime. However, it's been 9 or 10 o'clock in the summertime since you entered this
Right.
plane.
Yeah.
And again, you don't see a sun anywhere. You're not even sure where the light is coming from.
Okay, does it ever get dark?
You get used to it. If you miss a day-night cycle, some of the elemental planes have a more traditional, or I guess more prime material day-night cycle. The Feywild, you do get used to it.
Right.
The way you tell, and he starts looking up, you'll notice that, and he starts pointing to, the sky itself is not just a straight color. There's swirls of color and shapes and things like that in it. And he goes, the way you tell time, and he starts kind of describing, and Willow, it makes the most sense to you because it's very close to, what's the study of stars called? It's not astrology. Astronomy.
Yeah.
Astronomy and astrological timekeeping. Very, very similar to how ships are piloted by the stars.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of how they tell time here, is that the shapes in the sky move and change and shift, and while it doesn't become day and night, that is a constant.
Okay.
So that's how they're able to tell day cycles and things like that.
Okay.
Sure.
It takes a little while to get used to, but once you're used to it, it's fine. I assume. I mean, I've lived here my entire life. I spent a little bit of time in the terrestrial Commonwealth as a spy, and that was weird. I mean, it would be bright, and then it would be dark, and then it'd be bright again, and I'll take my multicolored sky to a day and night cycle any day of the week.
Okay, then, so... Is that sleep time yet?
Sure. No, that'd be a great idea. Do you guys have bedrolls or anything?
Thankfully, I still do.
Yes.
All right. Well, lie them out anywhere. I've set up some wards around us, so if anything gets close enough to anything dangerous gets close enough for us to have to deal with it, we will be awake for it. However, again, we're in the middle of the wilds. I would say sleep with your weapons nearby.
I look at Avok, move a little bit closer to him, because he's our weapon.
Aww, and then they spoon.
No.
Let's watch this ship sail.
Willow's the voyeur, not me.
All right, so is there anything else you guys want to do before you go to bed? You notice he kind of goes off and seems to purposefully leave you guys alone for a little while and lies down. So now you guys are basically alone.
I want to try a few more spells before I go to sleep.
Okay.
She
You
walks a little bit away.
Similar
Tries Baby's
results.
hand.
The first time you catch each spell, it doesn't work quite the way you were expecting it to, but it's predictable for you now.
Okay.
Again, you're a wizard. You're a scientist. You're more confirming hypotheses now than pure experimentation.
It's also just a comfort, like, this is what she knows and getting it back to normal.
Okay. Kata, Faye, Davok, anything you guys want to do before hitting the stack?
Kata is so exhausted from the battle and all this information being plowed at her that she pretty much goes to sleep instantly.
You are in wildlife, though, so you do feel, despite the fact that it is very bizarre and different, it's still nature. So it's a little bit comforting. She goes around on all fours, turns around 3 times.
Yep, just like a cat.
You hear a slight purring sound. Fade, Avok?
You got anything, Mike? I'm trying to think of something.
Fade is like not even like the lights are on, but no, I don't think anyone's home. He's just probably gonna just look up into the sky for a while and be asleep.
Gotcha.
Wake me up in a couple hours.
Roll me an insight check.
Me?
Yes.
Okay. Huh. Oop, don't. I can't use the other this one. It's a 14.
Okay. You do notice your axe seems different.
Say what now?
It's still got kind of the heft to it. The blade itself is still magically sharp to the point where it won't dull. But it used to have this kind of necrotic energy that floated it, that made wounds open and not close. And you don't feel that from it right now. You don't know if it's the fact that you're cut off from the Dark Lady, and this was technically a present from her, which is why it's in the shape of her holy symbol, or just because the Feywild makes things act weird, but the axe feels a little bit different.
Yeah, Avok gives it a few swings in the air. Something's wrong. I hate this place. Fuck. And I'm just gonna walk over to Willow.
Okay, so we're going to see Avok walking over.
So, what do you make of all this? Because my head fucking hurts.
Agreed. Yeah. I wish I knew what was happening back in the Platinum City.
Yeah, me too.
I wish we could get anywhere faster than we are right now.
It's so fucking weird. Doesn't make sense. Why are we? How did? I mean, it was. I don't know, some brightness, darkness, and then we're here. What the fuck? How did that happen?
I don't know if it was the machine being changed or if it was, I guess, lust sending us here to get us out of the way, or if it was a complete accident. I don't know. I wish I did.
Yeah, well, I've got a bone to pick with that bitch. God damn it. I'm sorry. Sorry. God damn it.
You could have a particular god, damn it. I mean,
Yeah, well. Yeah.
is there anything else before you guys sleep?
I think we need to keep an eye on Fate for a bit.
For a while.
Oh, he'll get over it. It's just, I think, a lot of shit has affected him more than it's affected us.
I know what it's like to watch your father die, and his was much worse than mine.
Yeah.
So he'll need a while.
Yeah. Alright, well, I'm gonna rest up. I fucking need it. Don't stay up too late getting your matching situation dealt with.
Yeah. Get some rest.
Yeah. Yeah, Bach walks off and goes to sleep.
Okay.
Willow sits for a little while longer playing with her crystal necklace, remembering the day she got it and the day her father died. And then goes to bed.
As you're sitting there, kind of holding on to the necklace and thinking about it, the memory itself starts becoming more and more vivid. And you start hearing kind of the shouts of the riot and the sound of the horse hooves and the screams and everything. Like you start smelling burning flesh and it starts to become overwhelming, and then you feel a hand on your shoulder and you see Aramis there. He's like, you got to be careful with memories. The fairies, they're not bad, but they enjoy emotions. Good emotions, bad emotions, as long as they're strong, they enjoy seeing them, they enjoy watching people experience them. So strong memories like that, you got to be careful. You never know how close a fairy is. And they sometimes make them a little more vivid than we'd like them to be. You okay?
Thank you. Not a pleasant one to remember.
I've been there. My first interaction with a fairy ended with my hair turning puce and being spiked for 3 months.
Okay.
Again, they're not bad. They're mischievous. And I didn't like what they decided to do, and they decided to have fun with me. And my commanding officer, Half-Stash, wasn't as sympathetic as perhaps other people might have been.
No.
Get some rest. I'll put up some extra wards, try and keep the fairies away.
Thanks.
So you guys get a full rest. Willow, your temporary hit points go away. And that is where we are going to end it for tonight. If you guys enjoyed this, this campaign has been going on for over 2.5 years. All of it is on my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/TrainerJody. Feel free to catch up there. If you're watching this on YouTube, please tune in live. It really does help me out. And we'd love to have people in chat talking and theorizing and stuff like that. So feel free to tune in live and yeah. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm at Trainer Jody. I'm Trainer Jody everywhere. Otherwise, that's all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye bye.